Leaders, real life leaders.
But at the end of the day, a business can't survive, let alone thrive, if each person isn't contributing in a meaningful way. And contributing in the business world is not just working hard, but it's actually creating a self-sustaining, profitable entity.
Welcome to the Real Life Leadership Podcast, where we share real life stories from real life leaders to help you become a better leader in your organization.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. And today we are talking about 5 surefire signs to know if you should fire someone or keep them. And today we have a very special guest. We have Kelly Roach that's here, and she is a former NFL cheerleader turned into a $1 million mogul, and she built and led record-breaking teams in 17 locations around the U.S. She's got a consulting business that she's got, and so we're so happy to have you on the show. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know that you were a former NFL cheerleader. What team were you on?
Oh, Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't like the Eagles. So I'm a big Redskins fan, but that's okay. I do like you.
Okay. It's going to be like 1 in 30, right? So
yes, that's awesome. I used to be the captain of the cheerleaders as well. I was on a semi-pro professional team here locally in Hampton Roads.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was like the only cheerleader that I couldn't do like all the other. I wasn't great at like cartwheels and splits and like everything else, but I was just good at like leading. So
sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
So tell us about a little bit more about yourself and, what do you do and what's your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. My mission, first and foremost, is to empower people economically. So for me, my background in Fortune 500, before I started my company in 2012, I was responsible for coaching, leading, and training people, and to do that in the sales capacity. So my entire job was to find the people, train the people, and then make the people productive. And I loved it. And I fell in love with business growth strategy. I fell in love with teaching and coaching and leading people, and most importantly, growing business. And after doing that for quite a while, I really wanted to start channeling my work into helping individuals, which is why I really started in 2012, focusing on coaching small business owners and teaching them how to successfully implement systems for sales and marketing and team building so that I could use the skills I had developed for good, so to speak. I really wanted to focus on, impacting people, impacting their families, helping them create generational wealth, rewriting the story for their families. And so that's why I'm so passionate about what I do every day.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right in. What's sign number 1 that you need to know? Hey, should I keep this person? Should I fire them? What would you say number 1 is?
Yeah. So definitely number 1 is going to be if they cost you money instead of making you money. Right?
I love that.
And we see this all the time. And what happens is, in a team environment, in a business environment, a lot of times you work very closely with your staff. And so that halo effect kind of comes in where you see through those rose-colored glasses, you like the person, or you think they work very hard, or you've had a relationship with them for a long time. But at the end of the day, a business can't survive, let alone thrive, if each person isn't contributing in a meaningful way. And contributing in the business world is not just working hard, but it's actually creating a self-sustaining, profitable entity.
Yeah, and it's not easy to do, to figure out like each position. Is this person creating a positive ROI, a return on investment on their job? That in and of itself is a little bit of a job. Can either of you guys, and Heather, I forgot to introduce you. Of course, we have Heather Rimmick here, our amazing co-host who leads with me. Can either you or Heather talk about, okay, so how do you know, what are some ways that you can tell? Give us some specific examples. How do we know if this person is giving us a positive ROI?
Well, I have an example, and mine's about a position. So we used to have a position of a photographer on staff, it sounds really awesome. We had somebody who we paid full-time employee to go and take pictures of all of our listings. So we were paying them hourly, we were paying them mileage, we were paying for their insurance and benefits and all of that. And so what we finally had to do as we were growing and scaling is look at that. We had to sit down and look at how much we were paying them and like how quick was the turnaround of when we were getting the pictures back and how many hours was it taking them versus if we were to outsource this and have somebody do it outside, have multiple options where we could get things done a lot faster, and it's more scalable because, we're only they're going to a couple surrounding cities, but as we start to grow, how are we going to have photographers, that we have on staff all over? And so we kind of sat down and put it on paper, and what we realized was it was much more economical and scalable for our business to outsource that because that was not a core competency of ours. And it just made so much more sense. People had an array of options that they could pick from in order to get pictures taken for their listings. It was the same exact service, but they were getting them faster and we were able to do it for a lot cheaper and help with that return on that investment for us. So that was a specific example of we had a position that we had to kind of look at and say, should we keep it here or should we do it some other way?
And it was a perfect timing because the girl actually was pregnant and decided that she wanted to stay home and be with her baby. And so, like you had said earlier, Kelly, it's kind of like, oh, we really liked her. We didn't want her to lose her job, but it turned out right at that same time that we were thinking about this. She was like, look, I'm getting ready to have a baby and I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Any other examples you can give, Kelly, about do they cost you money or do they make you money?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one of the very first hires that most small business owners make is that person that is going to be kind of like their right-hand person that does scheduling, managing the calendar, email, booking, whatever. And what I find with my clients over and over again is they'll say, I can't afford to hire a salesperson, because I don't have enough money coming in. So we'll look at that first position, right, that they hired for, which is like that admin person. We'll say, okay, this person is booking your clients. They're scheduling your clients. They're doing customer service. They're interacting every single day with paying customers. How does that person monetize? How does that person contribute and add value, right? Well, they're talking to your own clients. Are they generating referrals every week? Right? Are they doing upsells? I literally had a client I did this with 2 weeks ago. She went from losing money on this particular position, exactly what I'm talking about right now, to making money by simply having this person ask 2 follow-up questions on every phone call with their existing clients when she was interacting with them. Who else do you know that we should be working with? And what else can we be doing for you other than what we're doing right now? And within 2 weeks, she went from losing money on the position to making money on the position.
I love that. Okay, let's jump into number 2. What is the number 2 sign, whether you should keep them or let them go?
Yeah. And in no specific order. I don't even remember the order that you got. But I would say lack of adaptability, lack of flexibility. So I think that it's great that we go out and we try to hire people that are experts at what they do, right? And it's important to have a level of expertise. But in business today, it's actually much more important that someone has a high level of flexibility and adaptability because the world is changing every 30 seconds, right? And if the world is changing that fast and you have an employee that's immovable, that won't change with you, your company is going to ultimately struggle and stop growing because of it, right? So another client I was just working with recently had a salesperson, and the salesperson was a great closer. Sent her leads, she would close them like crazy. Awesome. But this person was not willing to do prospecting, and they were a salesperson. And so, I said to her, you have to make a decision here because you're spending twice as much money to go generate leads to feed this person who's not willing to go out and hunt for herself because she's not doing 50% of her job. Right? So she did some reworking with the staff and she's going to make some changes. But these are the kinds of things as a business owner or a leader that you have to be so aware of, because if you have someone that has a lack of flexibility, it's costing you extreme amounts of money. And you have to decide, is that a lack of flexibility that this person is making so much money in other areas that you're willing to accept? Or is this a lack of flexibility that you're not willing to accept that this person actually needs to go because of how much it's costing you and your firm?
Awesome. Heather, do you have any examples of lack of flexibility?
Well, I want to say we actually try to lead with a carrot in this. In one sense, in our company, we have the Adaptability Award. And so we recognize one person in our company each year who is willing to do whatever it takes to get things done. And sometimes that means not doing something that's necessarily not in your job description, but you're going to go above and beyond to do that. And I think that sometimes, like in your example, we have people that are very successful at what they do, but they don't like doing something else. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but they don't like doing it. And what I think we oftentimes do is create another position to do that part of their job that they don't like doing. And you have to kind of look at it and say, is it worth the money to have someone else do something that this person should be doing so that they can do something that they really like doing? And, an example that I kind of think of is in our recruiting. So the prospecting and in agents, agents don't love to prospect, and our leaders don't love to prospect. It's not fun because you get told no a lot. It's just not someone's favorite thing. So we kind of have to decide, do we hire somebody that just does the prospecting? We have done that in our call center. So like our agents don't love to prospect. So we help prospect for them, and we have seen a return on that. It's that is something that does grow our business. And so you kind of have to look at the different positions and does it work to kind of give them a helper with that, or should you find someone that can do it all?
Yeah. And I think it's exactly what you said there. It's making a decision based on dollars and cents around what is the best thing for the company, right? I think a lot of times what I see instead is creating special positions for people that aren't willing or able to do the full scope of their job, and businesses losing their shorts over it because they're creating those special positions, but the people aren't pulling their weight, meaning they're not making more money in other areas because of it. So I think it's just having that balance and really looking at it strategically and holistically versus just how do I accommodate this particular person that is demonstrating a lack of flexibility.
And I think people I know people will say things like, well, that's not part of my job description, or that's not part of what I'm supposed to do. When you start hearing that over and over again, when someone's like, well, that's not part of my job description, I shouldn't be doing that. That's kind of a red flag. Hey, is this person this flexible person that we need? But while I say that, I do also want to say it is good for the person to say, hey, I do have specific goals that I need to achieve. So I don't want to be all over the map doing all these other things. So you've kind of got to balance that just a little bit. All right, tell us number 3.
Yeah, I would say you definitely don't want to have people on the team that are no longer or never were interested in personal growth, right? So when you get people that are perfectly comfortable being perfectly comfortable, that's just about the worst thing that can happen for your business. And it's not that you don't need a dynamic and a mix on your team. You're always going to have the pluggers and the sluggers, right? You're not going to have all A players, superstars that are reinventing the industry, because then you wouldn't have those people behind them that are steadying the ship, right? So there's different types of people that you need on the team. But when you have people that have no interest in personal growth, they probably are not the type of people that are going to grow, adapt, and change with the business. And once again, what happens is we start to overcompensate because they haven't grown and evolved. That lack of flexibility shows up again, that lack of adaptability, that person that says that's not in my job description. All of these things, right, ultimately translate into your ability of your team and company to work as a cohesive unit to move towards the future. Business in and of itself can't survive without growth. And that all starts up here, right, with the person.
Yeah, so we have everyone on our leadership team every week. Sometimes we send them the podcast to listen to, and sometimes we say, choose your own. Yeah. And then we spend about 15 minutes every week with everyone kind of sharing. You got 2 minutes to kind of sum up, hey, what are we going to do to kind of take this podcast and take it to the next level? And podcasts are so great because they're free, and, everyone, you can listen to it when you're in the car or,
Yeah.
driving or wherever, but it is a required piece. If you want to be on our leadership team, you've got to do it. And if you go to chantelray.com/grow, chantelray.com/grow2 and chantelray.com/grow3, I put together a list of all of our favorite podcasts that we love, and you can kind of have a new one to listen to all over the map. But what other suggestions would you guys say that you have for getting people excited about growing and, reading or listening and stuff like that?
Yeah, will we do contests? So we will have whoever. I love when people pick their own podcast because we get in habits of I have the same 10 podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis because I really love them. But sometimes people will introduce you to a new, person that you haven't listened to before, a new topic. But I love when we'll do contests. It's not just about listening to the podcast. Everybody can listen and write a summary of what they listened to, but what we reward is how can they implement what they learned in their podcast into our business. So what is something that you heard and how can you make it? And so we will actually give gifts, prizes out at certain times and say, whoever comes up with the best implementation that is going to get, a $25 gift card or whatever it might be for that week. And so I love that because it will actually you'll see the people who really separate themselves from the rest because not only will they get an idea that they are going to implement, they are going ahead and implementing it. So they'll say, this was my idea and I've actually already implemented it and here it is today for you to see. And that's really exciting. And that helps raise the level to the, to the next place. So our web developer, for example, he'll hear something. And of course he can develop it himself because that's what he does. But he'll be like, I have this idea. And we're like, oh, that's so awesome. He's like, and here it is. And he shows it up on the big screen and he's like, it's there for everyone to use now. And so ideas like that just really, and just something small to give people they love to win something. That kind of helps raise them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Kelly, what about you?
Yeah. So for me, I love getting the team together once a quarter and having everyone bring their dream boards together and present on what they're working towards in their life and then what their action plan in the business to help them to achieve that is. And we start off every single time by people going around and saying what they actually accomplished on their dream board since the last time we met, because we do this once a quarter. And I think that taking time away from the business to get people thinking bigger, dreaming again, getting inspired, and then taking a step further in actually putting an action plan that supports them getting there is huge. Because I think, of course, we want people that are interested and excited in personal growth. And there's a very small portion of the population that just does that on their own. But what we need to do as leaders is create an environment and a culture where we're exposing people to new ways of thinking and new ideas that are going to integrate and connect their personal life and their personal goals with the things that we want to see them accomplish in the business.
Awesome. All right. Number 4.
Yeah. So in at 8, out at 5. We don't live in that world anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that you don't have other priorities, right? Besides the business, it doesn't mean that you don't have a family and hobbies and charities that you like to donate to and participate in and other things that are important to you outside of work. We all do, right? But we also all know the difference between when it's all hands on deck. You see the people that happily and eagerly are like, let's go. I am on this. I'm leading the charge. You don't need to tell me because I'm already doing it. And the people that you actually have to hope do the right thing and maybe even ask, right? So how I know, when I'm working with a leader and they need to terminate someone as quickly as possible, I had this situation come up just the other day when I was coaching someone, was that they actually had to go sit down and have a conversation with someone who wasn't meeting their goals about the fact that they needed to come in early or stay late because they weren't meeting expectations. Well, once you have to have that conversation, that person already, they need to go, because if they don't see something wrong with walking in at 8 and walking out at 5 when they're not meeting expectation, that's not someone that's going to help your company to achieve their ultimate goals, right? They've already made the decision in their actions.
I love it. Heather?
I would say yes, 100% agree. Now that we're in a mobile world, work just doesn't end at 5. It happens all the time. And we all know that better than anyone, that life happens as well. And it's just finding that right balance of being able to do both. And, it's having that grit. It all comes down to grit. Like people with grit, it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, I've gotten my kids in bed. We've fed everyone. We've been to practices and it's 9:00. And believe me, I just want to get in bed. Like I do. But I know that I still have XYZ to finish before I come in tomorrow, because otherwise you get behind and then you get behind and then you get behind. And you just have to have the grit to say, I'm going to work 30 more minutes. I'm going to work an hour more and get stuff done. And I'm happy to say that we do have a lot of people on our management team that really they work that extra mile. We're actually doing a contest right now. One of the things we do is we help people set stretch goals. So we really want to help them don't just come in and do your same job task every day. Like, how can we help you take it to the next level? So, every so many weeks, we want them to set a stretch goal. So like every 2 or 3 weeks, one of their goals or 2 of their goals need to be something they're really going to have to put the extra effort in to hit it each week. And so we're doing a contest right now where everyone had to commit to 3 stretch goals for this week. And at the end of the day, on Friday, we're taking them out to everyone who hits their stretch goals gets to go out and do a team activity together. And so just kind of getting that team camaraderie together and helping them hit that goal. And so like today, someone was like, I'm not going to hit, he made a big stretch goal and he's like, it's just, I'm not going to hit it. And I looked at him and said, yes, you are. I don't care if we have to stay up till 3 a.m. We are hitting our stretch goals. Like this is something we're committed to do and we're going to do it. And it kind of gets them like revved up and, like, okay, I can do it. And that really helps that team camaraderie and helps push people to do something more than just the norm.
And I think it's also a matter of you setting up minimum expectations and goal expectations, because here's the bottom line. For every single position, we say, okay, here's your minimum standard. So let's just say our recruiter's got to meet with 3 people a week. But then we say, okay, but your goal is 5. But that way we're tracking it and going, hey, if every week you're only hitting the minimum expectation, you're not committed to going above and beyond. And the people we want on our team is people who are going above and beyond. Sometimes you should be hitting a 4 or 5. If every week you're only hitting 2s and only hitting 3s, you're not really the right fit for us because you're not going above and beyond and making it happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's give the final one. Number 5, what is it?
Yeah, so oldest one in the book, but it still rings true. And that's, if you're not a team player, this isn't home for you, right? Because at the end of the day, there's going to be everyone in your company and everyone on your team is going to have high highs and they're going to have low lows. And there's going to be times where they need to get up to bat and support someone else on the team that's having a bad month and step up and step in. And there's going to be times where, they're the ones having a bad month and they hope that other people will step in. But, when you have a person on the team that is about the me instead of the we, you pretty much know it's time for them to go.
And give us like an example. Can either of you guys give an example, very specific, of someone who you had on the team and they just really weren't a team player? Specifically, like, what does that mean? Unwrap that just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I can give an example. So I had a manager that worked for me back a while ago. And, she was a brilliant individual producer, moved into a management role, really desired to be a leader and to be a manager, but never switched over to the mindset of focusing on putting her people first. So when things went wrong, it was her people's fault. And when things went right, they were her doing. And so I had to remove her. Unfortunately, she had very high turnover on the team. The performance of, the group went down substantially under her leadership because she was all about the me and not about the we. And she took people that after she left really rose and performed at a really high level that were kind of being held down because, like I said, when it went wrong, it was their fault. But when it went right, it was her results, right? So she had to go.
Gotcha. Heather, can you think of something?
I can think of a time we had an agent who was very, very driven, and they were very driven for themselves, and they would kind of take down anyone that was in their way. And so it kind of got to the point that when people came into, like they would drive up to the office, if they saw their car there, they were like, I'm going to work from home today. Like I'm not even getting involved in that. And so, but they were a very, very, very high producer. And typically these people that are the me and not the team people are your high producers. They are bringing in a lot of money for your company, or they're helping your company be really successful. And so it got to the point where we kind of had to make a decision that this just wasn't the place for them anymore, even though that meant that we were losing, one of our top performers. But we didn't realize that once they were gone, the culture just rose, and all of these people who were mediocre were able to rise to the top because that top person was just taking everyone out. And so it sometimes is, a lot of times it is going to be your top tier person because they are the top, because they're very driven and they will do whatever they can to get it for them and not necessarily the good of the team. But sometimes you have to make those decisions, and then you'll see the team come together in the end once that is removed.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing I can think of is just negativity or gossip.
Yes.
Somebody who's just really a negative force. They're constantly gossiping. We work with a loan company that we kind of partner with and send people to get loans with. And they just told me a story about a really top producer that was just constantly gossiping about people. She was just always negative, and she was there. I don't know if she was number one or number two. I mean, very, very high up on the list. And they just fired her. And everybody was like it was like, like mouth wide open, eyes wide open. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they fired that person. But I think that takes a lot of guts and a lot of kahunas on the leadership part. When I found out they did that, I kind of had just a higher level of respect for that company. They were like, look, we're not going to tolerate that. We don't care what your production is. We value the rest of the people on the team, and we don't want that negativity and that gossip coming around. And we have a no gossip policy. And unfortunately, we're squashing that, and you're fired. So, well, any last minute thoughts on anything that you guys can say to someone if they're like looking at somebody and they're saying, look, should I fire them? Should I keep them? I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I'm torn. Last minute thoughts. Kelly?
I would say listen to your gut, because in almost every instance where I've had a leader that needed to make a change and did or didn't, right, to the good or to the bad, in hindsight, their gut was right every single time. So listen to your gut and trust the intuition of what you're feeling about the people that you're trying to make a decision on.
Heather?
It's good. I always say, if you can't coach them up, then you need to coach them out. And that is just, and don't wait. You have to do it quickly. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes and the more damage it causes. So you have to do it quickly.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be very written specific goals. It says, hey, listen, here's something that we're struggling with, and make it very clear. A, B, C, D. We're going to evaluate in 15 days. We're going to do another evaluation in 30 days. And then if that 15 days comes up or that 30 days comes up and they're not doing it, then you've got to go ahead and not make excuses and go ahead and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Kelly, tell people if they want to learn more about your coaching, and you have your own podcast, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us all about it. If people want to know more about you, learn more about your coaching or your podcast, how do they find out about you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my favorite place to hang out online is my private Facebook group. It's called the Tribe of Unstoppables, and I teach live business lessons for free there every single Tuesday night. It's a party. It's amazing people. It's a great place to come hang out. And my podcast is called Unstoppable Success Radio. And we release new episodes every single week on mindset, strategy, and tactic that are going to help you to elevate strategically to build your personal and business brand.
I love it. I love it. We'll put all that in the show notes for everyone just so they can have it handy. And if you guys have a question that you want answered, please contact us. We'll put that in the show notes. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@realLifeLeaders.com.